We have to do it again, but you know what? What's that sound? It's a ringing sound. Oh, that's right. It's the phone call again. Hello. Oh, what? The Tories are going to campaign on the next election of leaving the European Court of Human Rights? You don't say. I, I am generally shocked that this is what they want to do. I am genuinely shocked this is what they want to do. But this is where culture war nonsense leads you to, because their entire arguments for this are that, look, we really want to send people to Rwanda, even though it has been explained. It has been explained, I don't know, numerous times that, look, sending people to Rwanda is not going to stop people coming here. If anything, it is going to be a incredibly bad policy. Not only that, as we've talked about before, Rwanda actually has a very bad human rights record. You can look on Amnesty's International website for how bad it is. There's a lot of open allegations at the moment that Rwanda has taken refugees and basically given them a gun and then just forced them across the border into conflict zones. That's not good. There's also a possibility that it might possibly go to war with its next door neighbor. I think the DHR, the Democratic Republic of Congo, seems to be looks like a possibility if you look at a lot of people who study foreign policy and especially experts in that region. This is just not going to go well. The idea that sending people to Rwanda is going to be a good idea, it's not. First of all, we've signed international treaties on this. The other thing that we've got, of course, is the European Court of Human Rights, which is saying, hey, you need to respect international treaties on this, guys. You know, you signed up to this whole thing. So, you know, you got to at least, respect international treaties. But this, once again, goes back to the whole Brexit conundrum. We do not like that we signed an international treaty that is stopping us from doing something we really want to do. And that should be really, really worrying a lot of people, because if they're desperate to treat asylum seekers like this, what does it say about how they would actually treat you if it comes to domestic policy? You know, are you really seriously saying that Suella Braverman will go to bat to protect your rights in this country if we leave the European Court of Human Rights? A lot of people have seriously got to ask themselves that question, because Suella Braverman wouldn't care. If it suited her purposes, Suella Braverman would absolutely go after people's rights on this. And that's why it's so fundamental to be part of this court, to have a higher court that if a country does generally start to infringe on other people's rights, there is a mechanism and a higher court you can go to help stop that. That's why being in the European Court of Human Rights is so fundamental on this. And we really would be a pariah, because the only countries in Europe that are not signatories to the European Convention on Human Rights are, of course, Belarus and Russia. And I don't think that is a club we really want to join. It would be highly, highly embarrassing. And you had, I think it was Max Hastings on the BBC saying, the Europeans and Americans, it's not that they hate us. They look at this country and they look aghast at what is going on, because they can see the hard right in control of the country and they can see what it is doing. And they are aghast at what is going on here. And he is right. And it gets even worse, because this is something that, once again, is not being talked about. Because if they really do want to do this and they want to go to a referendum, then they've got two massive fundamental questions which they will not be able to answer and will not be able to do have any sensible solutions to. First of all, the whole Brexit withdrawal agreement, to use the phrase, if you may remember that at that time, is the European Court is baked through into that whole agreement like a stick of rock. So if we do decide to leave that, bang goes your Brexit agreement, which could cause huge economic problems and pretty much render us in an even worse economic situation. I'd love to see how they intend to solve that problem. That's the first one. that's the first one. The problem that they've got to try and solve if we do leave the European Convention on Human Rights and the court as well. The next one, of course, what do you do about the Good Friday Agreement? Let me remind you, it's one of the most successful peace agreements in the entire world, where Brexit itself put that peace agreement under a lot of pressure, but it managed to survive. It managed to survive Brexit. But even then, it has raised a lot of tensions in the area. No one will deny that if you've seen the activity going on Northern Ireland, it has raised a lot of tensions in the area. And we do not want to see a return to violence at all. No one does. But if we leave that, because part of the mechanisms for the sort of courts and to help sort out problems that may arise, as described in the Good Friday Agreement, are related to the European Court of Human Rights. That is the final arbiter, because that was decided who would be the independent arbiter on these cases. And that is fundamental to that peace agreement. Fundamental. It is one of the key aspects of why it is such a successful peace agreement. And yet, you've got Tories out today saying we need to run the next election on having a referendum on leaving the Convention on European Court of Human Rights. Why? Because they are so desperate. There was a poll that came out yesterday as well, and I'm not surprised that this has been their response to it. There was a poll that came out yesterday that said if a general election had been held at the current voting intentions, the Tories would win only 90 seats. That is a complete and utter wipeout. So now they are reaching for the desperation button. And our only really hope is that Rishi Sunak says, actually, no, that's completely a ridiculously bad idea. We should not do that. And hopefully he puts down the right wing of his party saying, that is a dumb idea. Do not do that. Do not campaign for this. Do not do anything about it. And if you do, you'll be sanctioned. But unfortunately, that's not Rishi Sunak. That's not the prime minister that we've got. We've got a prime minister who is about as strong as a stick of wet lettuce. He will fold. If they are serious about this, as they seem to be, they will kick into high gear. They will put pressure on Rishi, and it may end up in their manifesto. And if this is in their manifesto, and I will say this with all serious and honesty, if this is a manifesto, then regardless of your feelings about the Labour Party, you will have to vote Labour. If they are serious about this, then the left has to get on board that it cannot split, it cannot splinter. You have to vote Labour. Because that is the only way we are going to beat the Tories. And you have to commit to tactical voting. So you have to either vote Labour or you have to vote Lib Dem. That is the only way we're going to be able to make sure that that referendum does not come to pass. Because if it does, there are those two fundamental questions. What does it do about our Brexit withdrawal agreement? Because, as we said, that is pretty much baked into that agreement. And then, of course, what do you do about the Good Friday Agreement? Because that is fundamental to the Good Friday Agreement. These are two questions already they cannot answer. because they have no solutions to what that would mean to leaving the European Court of Human Rights. They've got no clue about what it really means to leave that organization. They're only upset because they cannot do their Rwanda flights, meaning that they can't seem to keep one of their ridiculous promises when, as we've said multiple times, if they wanted to solve this asylum crisis, this asylum backlog, fund the system, hire enough people at the Home Office to be able to do this, because that's something else that they haven't done, and of course, make safe routes so that people don't have to rely on these small boats and these smugglers. They have to do two things at least: fund the system, create safe routes. That's all they have to do. Problem solved. But they daren't do it. Why? Because they are hardcore right wingers who just want to use this as a massive distraction to, look, focus on all these small boats. Don't focus on this massive, huge dumpster fire of a government failure policy of the past 13 years that we've been responsible for. No, just focus on those small boats. Don't look behind the curtain. But that is what they are trying to do. It is a massive red flag. Don't fall for it. And of course, if anyone does, shall we say, bring this up to you in conversation, just ask them, what do you intend to do about our Brexit withdrawal agreement and, of course, the Good Friday Agreement? They will have no answer and no comeback for it. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And, of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.